同志们，同志们，我们都在轰轰烈烈的站起来，站起来！Welcome to the 267th edition of China Now with your gang of two. Nan Su, who is the senior investigative reporter for Epoch Times, and Michael Olson, yours truly, who was told in no uncertain terms to stay away from China by the great helmsman himself, Chairman Mao. Well, each week, Nansu and I look across the broad expanse of the Pacific Ocean from our home port here at SantaCruzVoice.com, and we ask, China now, friend or foe, war or peace? Ni hao, Nansu.
Hey, Michael, pretty good. There you go. We are.
Here we go. Well, we have an incredible smorgasbord of news and rumors to chew on today, so we may as well get started. In hour number one, we have a story about Jimmy Lai. Who is Jimmy Lai, and what kind of trouble is he in? Hong Kong's Democratic Party votes to dissolve. China sues Missouri for reputational menace. Chinese authorities begin tracking menstrual cycles. Uh-huh. And those are not vehicles, motor vehicles either, right? So, and also the CCP is to issue ultra long-term bonds. And then finally, China's artificial islands sink in the South China Sea. So, lots to work on. Should we start with Jimmy Lai? Who was Jimmy Lai, Nansu?
Well, Jimmy Lai is the CEO and owner of a Hong Kong newspaper, Apple Daily. Many Americans still remember during the Hong Kong pro-democracy protest in 2019. There was a whole year long pro-democracy protest. People in Hong Kong take it to the streets, and he personally went to the street and joined the public protest. And it was a so-called anti-extradition protest. Basically, Hong Kong's government tried to pass a new extradition bill that will basically allow the Hong Kong's authority to transfer the people who are arrested in Hong Kong to China to receive the legal consequence that goes through the court process. So that's a big, basically you go, if you are arrested in Hong Kong and you are sent to mainland China to receive the whole legal process, then you are going to subject to, there's no one country, two political system anymore,
Yeah.
right? So that's how, the protest started. And many Americans, if you still remember back in 2019, there was a lot of young folks in Hong Kong. They are on the street, they're waving American flags, singing American national anthem, right?
Right?
So that was those are the days. And Jimmy Lai during the year he not only personally joined the protest, and also he visited the United States 2019. And I'm sorry, yeah, that's
2019. Yeah.
2020, 2019. Yeah. He visited United States in 20, no, he visited United States in 2020, a little later, 2019 or 2020. So
Right
he
at the top of
visited,
COVID, right?
yeah, and he met with Vice President Pence and also Secretary of State, Mr. Pompeo.
And
Uh,
they were very favorably disposed to supporting him, of
yeah.
course.
And then he received the 60 minutes interview.
Yeah.
So, but all that became the reason for the Chinese Communist regime, CCP, file charge against him, say he is in the crime of subversion, against the government. So so he was sentenced guilty. He was arrested in 2020. The waiting in the jail for a long time, and finally they made a verdict. I believe it's December 15th.
right?
And but they're going to make an announcement of the legal punishment in January.
Wow. Jimmy Lai goes to jail. You know, Nansu, Hong Kong was among probably my top favorite cities in the world. Uh, I visited the place as a young man. It was so exciting, so beautiful, so mysterious. I just thought it was one of the most incredible places on earth. Would I still think the same thing about it today? Would it still have that same magic energy that it had back then?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
I'm
Yeah,
afraid to go
people.
now.
I have a one relative who just came back from Hong Kong 2 weeks ago. He said Hong Kong during the night. Hong Kong most they say it's a uh, uh, it's a city, right? Never go dark.
Never go to sleep. Yes.
Yeah, and it's a city, never go to sleep. But they say now if you go to Hong Kong after 9 o'clock, it's going to be like downtown San Jose,
Oh
or
my
maybe
goodness.
maybe downtown Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nobody is all ghost town.
Huh. Yeah, it was spectacularly vibrant, full of life, full of energy, full of excitement. Everybody seemed to be just happy to be alive at that time. But I'm afraid it would be a lot different now. I'm afraid that if I were to go, I'm probably on the list, and I'm sure Non Su's on the list too. We'd probably end up with Jimmy Lai in jail.
Oh yeah, they won't even it won't we won't be even able to have a chance to receive that kind of a treatment they
Yeah.
gave to Jimmy Lai. We will probably just simply disappear.
Yeah, I'm afraid to ask for probably a body part factory or something like that. The next thing you know, our thumbs are on sale on eBay or something. Who knows? But that is the situation in Hong Kong now. To back up that assertion, we hear about the Hong Kong's Democratic Party voting to dissolve itself.
Well, this is the last party to dissolve. Most of the party already disbanded. In the last couple years. I personally met a few uh, Hong Kong's Democratic Party members. There were several different Democratic Party members. After they disband, several of them come to United States. They live in the Bay Area. I personally met some of them, and what happened is, they are actually noticed by the Chinese authority, ask them to dissolve themselves, and then each individual members are threatened. If they were subject to the serious consequence if they don't dissolve their own party. So this is the last one. So this one, after this one, they say there will be no street politics in in Hong Kong. There will be no opposition party anymore.
So that's the end of
That's
Hong
the end.
Kong.
That's
What's
it.
left of Hong Kong? What's left of that magic free enterprise spirit? It's all gone. Now, it's all gone throughout China, isn't it? Is it not?
Say it again.
There is no opposition party in China anywhere.
No, in China there are eight so-called democratic parties, but they are not the opposition parties. They are the assistant ruling parties that assist China CCP to rule China. So they are part of the ruling parties. They are
Oh,
not opposition parties. That's why China, in the entire history after CCP took over control of China in 1949, there was always eight democratic parties. No one more, no one less. So, because those eight so-called democratic parties, they are the ruling parties.
so there is a ruling party. There are eight democratic parties that are not part of the Chinese Communist Party, but in essence, they are owned in total by the Chinese Communist Party.
Well, they are under the leadership of Communist Party. And
Okay.
the Communist Party lead eight democratic parties. They are we call Chinese people call them flower party. They're
Flower
only good for
parties.
decoration. They are only
Okay.
good for decoration.
Okay. The
So
flower
they are
party.
there to decorate the so-called democracy of China. That's what it is. They don't do anything. So they are under the leadership of Chinese Communist Party. Chinese Communist Party, responsible to keep them alive, gave them enough money, and make sure that all these party members they live on a good, very good living condition. Nice house, nice pay, nice food, and famous. Go to the TV from time to time. Make sure that their business are making money. You know, there you go. So when it comes to the Chinese Communist Party want to do something, they become a part of the propaganda machine.
Wow. And, we've often talked about, or at least I've talked about, how China is resembling more a prison than it is a country because there is a warden and there are guards and there are prisoners. And that's the story. So there is no hope for the flower parties to ever say no to the CCP. They are free to operate, but they are not free to make any decisions, correct?
No, they are under the leadership. That's their charter statement, written in their charter statement. They support the leadership of Communist Party in China.
And that's that. Okay, so there it is. All right, so there's not much hope then for any kind of freedom at all in China.
Well, used to be there was no hope for the people in China. Now the situation is there's no hope for the people in Hong Kong.
Either.
Now think about it. If we would let China to take over Taiwan, then there will be no hope
No
for
hope
people
at
of
all.
Taiwan.
And you think the people, the Taiwanese people know that? You were there last year. Do they know that's what's pending for them?
Yeah, I think more and more people know that, especially, in 2019 after they saw what's going on in Hong Kong, they clearly wake up. I think there is a recent survey shows more than 90% of the people living in Taiwan don't want to unify with China.
90%.
Over 90%. And at least now they say, there was I think there's over 60% of people they will never want to unify with China, but there is still like 20 and close to 30%. They will say at least
Wow.
now, not to unify. Maybe later, you don't know. Maybe they say maybe later, China situation in China improve. Maybe Chinese Communist Party collapse. Maybe they'll consider that later. So uh, together, more than 90% of people say at least they don't want to unify with China now.
So China has developed quite a reputation around the world. And now China is suing the state of Missouri for reputational menace. What is that?
Well, the state of Missouri back in April of 2020, they filed a lawsuit against the Chinese government, say because Chinese government's cover up of COVID, and
Ah,
also they, cut off the medical supply at the critical time at the beginning period of COVID, like a face mask, all those things to the United States, that cost state of Missouri a great loss of life, loss of happiness, business, personal loss, so on and so forth. Now, in March of this year, a federal court judge, made a ruling, say state of Missouri won the case. So China is subject to $24 billion compensation to state of Missouri. So Missouri since then has been taking action to seize the Chinese properties, here in the United States. You know, the US government probably may not have a lot of state-owned property outside of the United States, but China does.
yes, they've been buying up a lot of farmland and a lot of
They
properties.
Well, they have by farmlands. China have their national bank operating here in the United States. Think about that. We don't have US don't have any government bank that operate in China, but all the China's national bank, they all operate in the United States.
Well,
They-
and that's always been a question for those of us who observe China. Whereas they can own property here, we can't own property there.
well, it
And
doesn't
it's
matter, right? Uh, and also think about this, all the US airlines, those are the private companies. But the China's, all these airlines, they're the state-owned business. So you
so
think about there's a tremendous amount of assets the state of Missouri can seize to make them pay. And now Chinese government is totally scared, and they are thinking, wow, if the state of Missouri can do that, many other states and countries
and
around the world can do
countries,
the same
yeah.
thing.
So the
So they, in order to stop that, they file a lawsuit, $50 billion lawsuit, trying to go after state of Missouri.
now
Yeah, they can do.
where did they file that lawsuit?
Of course, in China, right? The Chinese court, of course, they will rule, in favor of Chinese government. But I don't think, state of Missouri actually have any assets in China. Well, maybe in Hong Kong though, they better, if they have anything in Hong Kong, they better,
Sell it
take them
quick.
back.
Yeah, sell it quick because it's going quickly. Huh. So it's a very interesting legal precedent that backed by a U.S. court, somebody actually stood up and said, "Hey, you caused COVID. Not only did you cause COVID, but you covered it up. Not only did you cover it up, but you prevented the supplies we needed to fight it from getting to us. So
Yep.
you did all of these things and you must pay now." And they got a court order to allowing them to seize property. I guess if you're China, that has to be kind of frightening because that would leave them open to litigation by every country in the world.
It's true.
And is there any proof positive that China was responsible for COVID?
Well, it's a black box, right? You never know. But however, it's true, think about this. January 23rd of 2020, China locked down the city of Wuhan.
Yeah,
But they did that day when they locked down the city of Wuhan, they did not lock down the international flights until January 29th.
yeah,
That's 6 days later. So, at least we can prove during that 6 days, China knowingly let the people carrying virus flying all over the world. And we have a solid case. I think in January, I think I forgot which day. It's in February or late February or somewhere. We found the first case in Seattle, right? The
yeah.
patient zero
Patient
in
zero.
Seattle.
Yeah, and there it was, just like that. Wow. Okay. Well, we all remember COVID. I certainly remember COVID. And I actually did shows on the origin of COVID at Wuhan. And actually were able to track down. Remember when it was first announced, there were pictures of bat soup that were disseminated throughout the press, and the press said COVID came from eating bat soup. And I worked with an AI expert out of the East Coast, and he tracked that photograph down to Beijing. It was released out of Beijing, but the photograph was actually taken from an Indonesian restaurant in Indonesia.
There's
So,
all kind of like a fake story at the beginning. Now think about this. In March of 2020, see, they locked down the city of Wuhan on February 23rd, right?
right?
In March, the Chinese foreign affair department, foreign ministry, a spokesperson Zhao Lijian sent out a tweet, you know, to his Twitter account twice, and openly saying the COVID was brought to China from United States. He said that.
Mhm.
He said the Americans were responsible, for COVID spread, for the pandemic. That's the foreign spokesperson of China's foreign minister. Twice they make that statement in March.
Wow. Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. We all remember COVID. We all remember the hellfire and damnation it brought upon our community and how it allowed our government to run amok and lock us all up and borrow tons of millions, trillions of dollars to spend. It was really crazy. And hopefully we won't have to go through that again, but who
Now think
knows?
about it. We are still paying for the COVID, right?
Yes,
Look at the
absolutely.
inflation.
Inflation. That's what all the trillions of dollars that the government borrowed and threw up into the wind. Here, spend this, spend this. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
just crazy.
just think about the inflation. We are still paying for it.
Yeah,
So therefore, so therefore, we are eligible to, we have a
we can
legal,
all well, we can all sue the CCP.
yeah, we can all sue the CCP. Hey, our listeners, if you're listening to this today, think about this. If you have loved ones who lost their life during the COVID, now there is a first president, it's set. The case is set. You can sue the CCP.
And maybe everybody in the world should. Well, if you think that's weird, stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about how the CCP is asking women to report their menstrual cycles so that, well, why would the CCP be doing that? Do stay tuned. We will be right back.
Take a magical journey through 5,000 years of civilization with Shenyun Performing Arts.
It was absolutely riveting, beautiful. It's very nice to see a show that concentrates on the highest and the best of humanity.
My heart is fluttering because of this performance, and it's going to be with me for the rest of my life.
See it at least once in your lifetime.
And you could see on their faces this joy, this love, this fire, this passion. It was magnificent.
San Jose and San Francisco, starting from December 24th.
Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-704-1662. 800-704-1662. That's 800-704-1662.
Attention content producers. You can have access to a complete digital media production facility at Satellite Co-working and Digital Media Studio on SoCal Avenue. Easily rent video and audio equipment, a studio with green screen, editing suite and audio booth, all at can't say no rates. Schedule a tour to see for yourself at satellitecoworking.com. Mention Santa Cruz Voice for 20% off your first reservation.
Treehouse dispenses not only the finest cannabis products, but information to those who want to know how to use cannabis for maximum benefit. Hello, I'm Jenna. If you would like to know how best to use cannabis, ask your friends and neighbors at Treehouse Dispensary, 3651 SoCal Drive. If you're 21 plus with a valid ID, no appointment is necessary and the information is free. Order online at ourtreehouse.io and pick up at our drive-thru. See you soon.
Welcome back. This is 中国现在, China Now, with your hosts, Nan Su, Michael Olson, and we're honored that you're joining us today. We're talking about some of the stories that are popping up out of China, and one of the stories has a lot to do with the population crisis now facing China. Nan Su, right after World War II, when Chairman Mao took over in 1949, right, early 1950s, China's population of adults was pretty much decimated by World War II. There's a lot of people that went missing in that war, killed in action, I guess. So what Mao did is he launched a campaign to encourage childbearing. And so the Chinese people had babies, lots and lots and lots of them. And then, in the, I guess it was the 1970s, they issued a new edict that said you could only have one baby. And so
that's in the 1980s.
1980s, okay. I was throwing out a guess there. What precipitated that?
Well, actually, they don't have that population problem in the 50s.
No.
Now, at the end of the 50s, because of the Mao failed the Great Leap Forward movement, and that's the movement they say they will catch up the UK economy in 5 years, the US economy in 10 years, but they failed, and then, but the whole movement failed so brutally, so the whole country was hungry, right? A big famine going around, and then they have a lot of people dying. Now, and also it's interesting. There's also a lot of a new baby born, right? Why? In China they have that system at that time. See, they gave you the 粮票, right? The food coupon, right? They gave you the food
Now,
coupon.
when was this? At what period of time?
58, 59.
Right. Okay. So now
60,
we're encouraging.
61. Now the food coupon lasting all the way through the end of the 70s. Gradually in the 80s, after China start opening up, they start, they feel they don't need it do that anymore. But from the late 50s all the way to the end of the 70s, that's almost like 20 some years, almost 25 years, I will say. They have that situation. So you have in China, you have to have two things. That's how I grew up. You need to have two things in order to buy food. Say if you want to go buy rice, you have to have money, and then you have to have the coupon of rice.
So that's pretty much the way United States was during World War II. You had to have coupons to get what you wanted because
Yeah,
everything was rationed. Yeah.
yeah, because it's not enough, right? So then, now, however, and then you also have the coupon to buy the clothes, right?
Huh?
Uh, or maybe, any other food, meat, right? If you want to go buy pork, they'll get, and milk, all have coupons. And then they give every family certain number of coupons. Now, they will now think about this. Babies, if you have a newborn babies, that count as one person,
Right.
but the baby doesn't eat a lot. So,
So, you get more food then. You have three
yeah,
coupons for three, and the baby doesn't eat a lot. So, maybe you have more babies
yeah,
and get more food.
yeah. So they have a baby booming period in that 3 years that people are really hungry to die, because they want to save adults. They're going to start make babies. You have a babies, you have more food, right? Baby doesn't eat that a lot. Not until baby, maybe gradually. See, babies, babies does get reduction. They give like you probably get half of the adults, but that's just a lot.
Still a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so you won't get it, probably until uh uh you know
6 years old or 7 years old or
six or
something like
seven
that.
years
Yeah.
old, right? So people figure out 6 7 years later, maybe this ferment is gone, right? So they start making babies.
Have more babies, get more
Yeah.
coupons, eat better, get healthier. And so, in essence, the effort to encourage babies really worked out because they
Well, they
made a
they
lot of
didn't
babies.
want to encourage that. It's just the people trying to find a way to survive, right? So China has a lot of, they don't need a young labor at that time. The
Yeah,
government, there's no intention for government to increase the more newborns at that time. But people find, making babies is the one
that's
way
right.
they can
Because
take advantage from the system
it
to
wasn't and
survive.
it wasn't until the Great Leap Forward that China really started to need a lot of people because people was what Mao was going to use to catch up with the industries of the Western world. We were going to have so many people to do all the work. So that was later. So at this time, when we're handing out coupons, we really don't need the extra babies.
That's all right.
Okay.
So so then in the 80s, because they have so many newborns in the 60s. Now, they think about people who were born like 60s like a 59, 60, 61, the baby boomers, they grow their 20s in 1980, right? So all of a sudden there are a lot of population,
Of
but they don't have
childbearing age,
enough food.
childbearing age, right?
Yeah. So now, so in order to, survive, to reduce the burden of the government, that's how they start the one-child policy.
We handed out so many coupons. We got so many people. Now we have too many people. No more coupons. And furthermore, you can only have one child.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's how the one-child policy started in the early 80s, right?
Wow. Okay. And then cut away to today. And
Yeah.
where are we today?
Well, we're all today,
All of those young people that we discouraged from having children are now going into their senior years. And they don't have a lot of children to take care of them anymore. So, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to have to figure out how to encourage people to have babies. And so, there's where we're at today. What's going on in China right now is that the health authorities in parts of China have begun asking women of childbearing age to report the date of their last menstrual cycle, period, triggering criticism online and renewed scrutiny of how far the state can reach into private life. Well, given what we've seen in the past, we can assume that the state can reach way into the private life to either encourage or discourage having babies.
Well, that's what they're doing.
So
But
if they're
they want you, say, in China, they encourage you to have a three now.
three,
Yeah.
but the people are not having three.
Well, young people don't even get married nowadays because they have no job, right?
So it's
You have
really
all these college graduate people, only 20% of college graduates can find a job. Think about
1/5.
for every five college graduate who graduate this year, one person can get a job. And how many people graduate from college this year in China? More than 13 million. Next year, more than 13 million. So, they don't have a job offered to these young people. And we have people who get a PhD degree, ending up getting a job in a town, in the small town government doing a clerk work.
Wow. And if that's the situation, who's going to be having babies? So you have the government keeping track of menstrual cycles. Let's see. In one village in Yunnan province, a message was circulated in a local WeChat group instructing all moms, end quote, to submit their last menstrual period in a specific format. So you have to put your name, your last menstrual period date, and your phone number, and add their current location if they're living outside the area. The message said the information was required from everyone, and by everyone, we assume they mean females, I guess. So the local health bureau said the reporting was part of pregnancy screening, meant to identify pregnant women early so officials could provide basic public health services. However, residents and rights advocates say the method crosses a line and reflects growing official pressure to raise birth rates after decades of strict family planning. Nan, we've talked about this in the past and how it appears as though China's not going to have enough people to go to war in another 10 years because all of the people will be busy taking care of senior citizens in 10 years. and there won't be enough people left to go to war.
Well, I think they will still have people, going into a war because the population is so large, right? You know, you
1.4 billion, they
yeah, you
say.
got a 1.4 billion. The base is huge, so they will still have enough young people. If they only need a few million young people in the military, they probably can get it.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're trying to do with women, I think, is to put them into the pregnancy army. Here, go in here and get pregnant. And but that is the state of the Chinese demographic. They're older and older and older, and there are fewer and fewer and fewer young people taking care of the older people. I saw a video clip where the claim was made that soon there will be two younger people to take care of one older people, so that essentially 50% of your effort will be to take care of a senior citizen.
Well, they already have the situation like there's two young one young couple. I'm sorry, two young couple. They will support four. I'm sorry, a old couple, right? You have because you have two generations of single children, right? So two young couple. Each of them will have four young couple, for the mid-aged couple, right?
Wow. Yeah, yeah.
So if each of them have two uh, two young couple, each of them will have two mid-aged couple. That's four, right?
Right.
And then there is another because that all that four
Well, wait a minute. Go back.
middle-aged couple, they all the single children of the single family.
Right.
They're the single children of the family, right?
So that's two children from four adults, right?
Two children for four adults, and then their
Grandparents,
grandma. That's eight, right? So you have two children who are supporting like a
eight
eight
adults.
old generation parents and grandparents situation.
And the other thing that really limits childbirth in China, I think, is the expense of housing in cities. In the first place, the dwelling units are very small. So there's not really a lot of room to have kids running around. You can't really have 5 kids running around those little cement boxes that people live in there. Um, so that's pretty much difficulty too. So it's a very big problem. Where are they going to get the children? So
Yep.
China has, according to the Epoch Times, China has recorded fewer than 10 million births for 3 consecutive years. And the country has experienced a significant reduction in its population over the past 5 years that is not really fully reflected in official data. The population crisis caused by the Chinese regime's violent, killing-based family planning policies is becoming increasingly apparent. And with marriage rates continuing to fall, birth rates are unlikely to rebound. And he said this, even maintaining basic social and ecological balance is becoming difficult. So tough. What are they going to do? I guess they're going to keep track of menstrual cycles, and that's what they're going to do. And then, so moving along from that, we have another story here reflecting this current state of China with respect to its economy, and that is the Chinese Communist Party is going to be issuing ultra long-term bonds in next year. I think it's the second year they've been doing that. So
Yeah, 50 years.
50-year bonds. So, Donald Trump was talking about having 50-year mortgages because of the prices of homes. And you would buy a home and pay it off in 50 years.
Well,
So
the Japan had that before.
so China's
It's called a generational mortgage. You really have to have, two generations to
two
do it together.
generations to buy off your house, yeah. So a long-term bond, 50 years. So why are they borrowing money for on 50-year terms, Don Sue? What is happening with the Chinese economy that they need to borrow money on 50-year basis like that?
So let me give you some numbers here, which was just published actually today.
How's that, ladies and gentlemen? Fresh news from today.
Yeah, today, the Chinese Treasury Department published a number. So this is what it is. Uh, from January to November, the first 11 months of this year, the total government budget, the original total government budget for the public spending, it's 24 trillion 709, 24 trillion and about
24
24.079 trillion yen. Okay, that's Chinese yen. And then the actual total spending, it's 34.0662 trillion yen. So the first 11 months of this year, they already outspent their budget for close to 10 trillion yen. And you divide by 7, you get a US dollar amount.
So that's a lot of money. And it's kind of like the United States in the last few years. We borrowed what, $2.5 trillion, we and threw it up in the air. And so China's been doing pretty much the same thing, has it not?
Yep. Yeah, the first 11 months they spend like a 10 trillion, it's like 1.2 billion. I'm sorry, 10 trillion yen government deficit in the first 11 months. It's equal to like a 1.2, 1.3 trillion US dollars.
Now, are they using these borrowed monies to build things, which is what they've always done before?
Well, they use this money really, really trying to survive. The first priority is to make sure all the military and then public employees and government officials to live well, because that's their ruling base. If they lost that, the CCP's ruling power is gone. So they try to make sure, you see, we just talked about it last
Yep.
week. The Chinese naval force sent over 100 warships in the first 2 weeks of this month, all around the East China Sea, South China Sea, near Japan, around Taiwan, near the Philippines, and to do their naval exercise, right?
Right.
So those are all the things they spend on.
So they're buying military hardware, they're paying for the military personnel. Um, So they're borrowing money to run their military. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then also the military personnel are happy, right? When they are go if they stay home without spending time on over the sea, then they don't get those extra
Right.
compensation, right?
No
When you
sea,
go
no sea
out,
duty pay. Right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember I used to get sea duty pay, and it was nice because there was nowhere to spend it, so you got to save it until you put in to port at Hong Kong, and then there was lots of ways to spend your money, and
Yep.
I found a bunch of them. So what they're doing is robbing the future. They're essentially doing like we're doing, stealing from our grandchildren to pay for what we're doing today. When you have a 50-year bond, nobody around here is going to be paying for it, right?
Yeah, nobody
It's
care anymore.
nobody cares. So you're just essentially stealing money from your children and your great grandchildren, and who's going to object? They can't object. They're not even born yet. So there's nobody to object. So you're just free to steal at leisure.
Yep.
50-year mortgages. Oh. So it goes on and on and on. And that is the case. And that is the case here. I guess what we're all living on in the world is the government and its ability to steal from the future to pay for today. And it's breaks my heart. And I think it probably breaks everybody's heart that has a moment or two to think about it. Well, that pretty much puts a wrap on the first hour of China Now. But as you can see, there's a lot cooking, and it's a very unsettled world we live in. Don't you think, Nansu?
Yep, it's true.
So we're going to take a top of the hour break, but when we come back, our first item that we're going to pick up are the islands, the 7 artificial islands that the CCP has built throughout the South China Sea as permanent military bases throughout the South China Sea so that it can do exactly what Japan did in World War II, which is you establish all of these bases, unsinkable aircraft carriers, so that when the United States comes, you'll be ready. Well, that is the story we're going to pick up, and we hope you'll stay tuned. This is China Now with your gang of 2, Nan-Su, the senior investigative reporter at Epoch Times, and Michael Olson, who once dreamed of going to China but was told by the great helmsman himself, Olson, you stay away. And after listening to him, I decided he's right. And I've stayed away since then. But I'll tell you what, I sure love the China that I fell in love with before the CCP. So do stay tuned. We will be right back after the top of the hour news break. And 再见.